There's a very famous saying, telling is not teaching. And a lot of teachers think, I've told you that, so I've taught you. But it's not teaching. Telling is not teaching. So all the teacher has to do is to think, okay, so when we're doing this piece now, let's begin by exploring this ingredient.
Hi, Paul. How are you doing?
Good morning, Nana. It's very nice to see you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yes, and this is my honor to have you here in this interview for Tit for Role project. This is the non-profit project for Vietnamese piano teacher in Vietnam, and one of the mission is we interview the expert, the music educators around the world, and listen to their thought and listen to their opinion about music as well as education. So thank you. Thanks so much again.
Lovely to see you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for inviting me.
Okay. So do you want to say a little bit about yourself, or I will introduce you by Vietnamese?
Well, I play the clarinet is my main instrument, but also I'm a pianist.
Yeah.
And I studied at the Royal Academy of Music in London.
Yeah.
And I teach at the Royal Academy of Music now, and I teach teaching.
Oh.
So I run a course at the Academy on teaching over a term, and I have many students, and we discuss the whole area of teaching. And teaching is something that I have loved ever since I was a small boy. And I have written, I don't know how many books. I think I've written nearly about 600 books.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
And so what is the content about that 600 book? What is it about?
Well, about everything. I mean, for example, I've done some books like I don't know whether you can see. This is my book on simultaneous learning.
Yeah, I know it.
I think we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
I've done a big series on sight reading. I've done a series on, it's called Improve Your Sight Reading. I've done a series on scales and theory. And I write lots of music as well, lots of pieces for young people to play. And I've written some more serious pieces too.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I have the Faber, who are my publishers. They do a catalogue. And this is some of my books in this catalogue, but not all of them, but many are published by Faber, who are
one of the great, I know. Yeah,
one of the great publishers in the world.
Yes. And so let's talk a little about simultaneous learning.
Yeah.
So can you tell more a little about, can you tell us more about it? Like, what is it? Is it the approaching, or is it method or something?
Okay, thank you, Nana. I'll tell you. It's I don't call it a method. I call it an approach to teaching. And it's very much the opposite approach to the kind of teacher who says, you play, and then I will tell you where you went wrong. You play to me, and I will correct all your mistakes. I don't like that kind of teaching because it's a rather negative kind of teaching. It assumes that our pupils aren't very good. You know, you try to play it, and then I will tell you where you went wrong. I'll correct your mistakes. And I think that kind of teaching it always creates mistakes because it's not teaching. It's not really teaching. Simultaneous learning is a kind of teaching where I think pupils are always progressing and understanding what they're doing, and so they are always enabled to move forwards. And it has three principles behind it. The first is that we teach through a piece's ingredients. And what I mean by that, you know, if it's a little piano piece, it has a certain number of beats in the bar, it's in a key, it has a character, there are certain rhythms in it, certain markings, certain ideas, and these I call the ingredients.
Ingredients.
In the
Okay.
ingredients, these are the ingredients of the piece.
Okay.
And the first thing I want to do is teach these ingredients.
All right.
The second principle is that everything in the musical world connects.
Okay.
And it's all about, the second ingredient is all about connection. And and I have this, I don't know whether you can see this, I call this my simultaneous learning map of the musical world.
Yay.
And you can download this on my website, and there are many languages. It comes in many languages. Perhaps you and I, we can do a Korean version.
Oh, yes.
We can do a Korean version, but this is in English.
Yeah.
There are, if you look on the in my website, there are all sorts of languages, but we must do a Korean version. And so I don't know whether you can see, in the middle, we have pieces or songs.
Yes.
And then everywhere is oral, technique, scales, listening, intonation, performing, posture, character, memory, everything. And we, as musicians, as professional players or teachers, we understand how this works.
Yeah.
A lesson, in my opinion, is a voyage of discovery around this map. A voyage of discovery, like we are taking a journey, we are taking a voyage around this map. And so a voyage. Let me give you an example. Maybe we are teaching any piece, but I will give you an example. Minuet in G. Have you heard of minuet in G?
Like the da 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 dee da da.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, any minuet in G.
Yeah.
How might that lesson start? Well, the first thing we might do for our pupil in that lesson is say, the first thing we're going to talk about is why minuet in G is called minuet in G.
Yes.
Because I want you to know why it's called minuet in G. And so the first thing on our map, we may go to scales. So we take a visit to scales, and we do, let's play one octave of G major.
Yes.
We play one octave of G major. Then maybe we go to technique. And if you are teaching the piano, maybe we talk about, thumb under on the third note. Or whatever instrument, we do some technique.
Yeah.
Then maybe we go to oral, and we say, now I'd like you to hear the scale in your head, hear it internally. Maybe we next go to notation. Now I'd like you to see the scale written down. So here is G major written down with the key signature, one sharp. Let's play it again from notation.
Yeah.
Maybe we then go to rhythm. And I say, now here is a rhythm. Ba, 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 ba. This is a rhythm that comes a lot in the piece. We haven't looked at the piece yet. I'd like you to play the scale again using this rhythm.
Yeah.
Maybe we then go back to oral. I now want you to hear the scale in your head using that rhythm. And then we go back to maybe notation, and I want you to play it again, but every bar, every note you play with that ba, 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 ba. Maybe we then go to improvisation. And now we have some ingredients. We have 3, 4. We have G major, the notes of G major, one octave. We have rhythm. We can just make up some music based on those ingredients.
Yes.
Maybe we then go to sight reading. And we say, I'm going to open the piece. We're not going to start playing it from the piece. I'm just going to open the piece. And I want you to look at one bar. This bar is in G major. Maybe it's the notes G. And it has this rhythm. Bar, bum, bum, bar. So we just sight read one bar that has all the ingredients we've been talking about.
Okay.
Then maybe we go to character. I'd like you to play the scale again in the character of a minuet. And then maybe we go to performing here.
Okay.
Now I would like you to perform the scale of G major, which we've now done quite a bit of work on.
Okay.
And you know what the notes are. You're hearing it in your head. You can create a little bit of a minuet character, and you can perform your scale beautifully. And then I call that a little learning journey, a learning journey within a lesson. And maybe that's taken us 5 minutes or 6 or 7 minutes or 10. Maybe it's taken us 10 minutes. I don't know. It doesn't matter. because in that journey, we have moved to quite a few of these different areas of music.
I see.
We've shown how they connect, and we've connected them all to the idea. Our idea is, I want to teach you why minuet in G is called minuet in G. It's because it's in G, and I want you to understand what that means. Because our pupils don't understand what that means. And for example, and then at the end of that learning journey, I hope my pupil understands, I know why minuet in G is called minuet in G. I know why.
Yes.
And so if they are then, maybe they're doing an exam and they do some sight reading, and the sight reading piece is in G, they understand. I examine, and so if I give someone a sight reading piece in G, and they might have just played minuet in G in the exam, for example, they don't make the connection. They don't see it's the same notes. That minuet was in G. This sight reading piece is in G. It's the same notes. And so this gives you a much deeper kind of learning.
Yeah.
And we are a lesson is a number of these learning journeys where we are continually making connections around this map. And our pupil, over a period of time, begins to understand this map.
Yeah. When I was in the academy, like as conservatories, Ho Chi Minh City, like the way the teacher taught me, you know, it's very traditional. And so she just assigned me a piece, and then, you know, asked me to go home and, you know, figure it out by myself and come back and play it for her. I don't know. This is not
that this kind of teaching. I call this very exclusive. Do you know this word? Exclusive.
Yeah, exclusive.
Because a very, very small number of people can learn like this. Very small number of people can learn like this. And almost all our pupils cannot learn like this. And so we have to teach. If we want our pupils to stick with us as teachers, we want them to progress as pupils, we have to teach them in a very different way. Otherwise, it's very exclusive. Maybe one pupil in 50 might get what you've just been talking about. And the others all give up because they don't understand, they don't get it.
Yes.
So
I agree.
The teacher must not teach at the teacher's pace, at the teacher's speed. The teacher must teach at the pupil's speed.
Yeah. Yes, correct.
And to the pupil, their speed is the best speed, and it feels fast.
Yeah.
If the teacher is teaching at the teacher's speed, most pupils can't do it. The third principle is that all this teaching we're doing, and I've done it already actually, but I just didn't explain it. We teach what I use the word proactively.
Proactively.
Proactive, because most teachers are reactive. They react. You know, we say, pupil, play the piece to me, and then I will react to your mistakes, because you will definitely make mistakes, because I haven't taught you anything. So of course you will make mistakes. So instead, I'm saying, let's teach proactively. So in the way that I kind of took you around my map here, we decide the next thing the pupil is going to do, and I think that the first thing in the lesson, the first thing is we're going to play the scale. But I don't just say play the scale. I may ask them, do they understand what they're going to play? These are the notes. This is the technique. Now, are you ready to play it? Yes, I'm ready to play it. And the pupil plays. And then if we've set that activity up carefully, the pupil will get it right. And if they don't get it right, they won't think it's their fault. They will just think, I know what I should have done, but I'm not quite there yet. And I will do it again happily, because I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And so we then react, of course. We still react. It's not reactive teaching. We still react. But the difference is that we are reacting to successful work.
Okay.
We're reacting in a good way because our pupil will have got it right because of the way we set up the activity. Excellent, we say, well done, you've got it right. We now move on to the next activity. What I'd like you to do next is whatever it happens to be. So a lesson is a sequence of proactive activities that we, the teacher, set up based on the ingredients, based on making connections, the right ingredients, the right connections, a series of proactive activities, and our pupil almost always gets it right. Yes. Because we have set it up for them proactively. We have set it up for them because we know our pupil for them to get it right. So our pupils are always positive. They're always positive in their mind, thinking, what are we going to do next, teacher? Because they learn to trust their teacher. They know the teacher will give them something that they can do. Yeah. If a teacher is always giving a pupil something they can't do, or they can't quite do, or they don't really understand, it makes the pupil feel bad. And so many teachers in so many lessons, their pupils are feeling bad, not good. And I want my pupils to feel happy and positive and feel I like my teacher, because not because I like them as a person, I'm sure everyone likes their teachers as a person, but I know that my teacher will give me something that I can do which will make me feel good. Yes. And that's the difference. I'm sure all your pupils, everyone's pupils like you as a person. That's different. It's the teaching. Do I like the teaching? And I think in this case, people like the teaching more because they feel positive all the time. I know I'm going to be able to do the next thing my teacher asks me, because that's how it works in this kind of teaching.
So, Paul, how and how do you think if the student keep, making mistake, like, so what is the properly behavior of the teacher when we see the student making mistake?
Okay, let me explain about mistakes. We all make mistakes, of course, and that's part of life. I make mistakes all the time. We all make mistakes. Mistakes don't matter really in this kind of teaching. What is a mistake? A mistake in music teaching, in piano, violin, whatever. A mistake, if a pupil makes a mistake, it's usually because they don't understand what they should have done. They simply don't understand it, or they haven't developed the necessary technique, fingers or whatever it is, to do what they've been asked to do. So someone makes a mistake because they don't understand what they should have done. They simply don't understand it deeply enough. And I have to ask this question: whose fault is that? Is it the pupil's fault? And I say, no, it's the teacher's fault. If a pupil makes a mistake, it's the teacher's fault for not preparing the pupil well enough to do what they've just asked the pupil to do.
Yes.
Now, I have another word, a slip. I don't know, do you know this word? Oh, I've made a slip.
Slip.
A slip. I made a slip. Now, if we make a slip, which is like a little mistake. Okay. If we make a slip, my pupils often make what I call slips. And it's because they know what they should be doing, but they can't quite do it, or it didn't quite work. But they say, oh, I know what I should be doing. I absolutely understand. I can't quite do it yet. I'll have another go. Now, a slip is very positive. It doesn't make a pupil feel bad. I know what I should be doing, but I haven't quite got there yet. I'll have another go. A mistake, where a pupil can't do something because they don't understand it, or the teacher hasn't developed enough technique for them to do it, that makes a pupil feel bad. And in this simultaneous learning kind of teaching, on the whole, our pupils never make mistakes. They don't make mistakes because we set it up for them all the time so that they don't make mistakes. And let me give you another little thought. Progress, in my opinion, is going from A to B.
Yeah.
Okay, A, I can't do something. B, I can do it. Okay, that's progress. Now, if we, the teacher, set up that journey from A to B carefully, by giving the pupil the right thing to do with the right understanding, they can do it. They get from A to B and everyone feels happy.
Yeah.
If they can't get from A to B, if we as a good teacher, we think this pupil can't get from this A to this B. I know that, I'm the teacher. So instead of going to that B, I'm going to put in an extra B. And a learning journey, maybe a learning journey lasts about 10 minutes. And the minuet in G, that was a learning journey. That was a learning journey. And so we just move forward in a lesson. Today, we're going to start off by thinking about why minuet in G is called minuet in G. That's our first learning journey. Then maybe we go on to another piece and we explore the first 8 bars. And we do some proactive work on ingredients, making connections, and then maybe we go on to a third piece and we do more proactive activities based on the ingredients of that piece. Maybe some pieces are very new, some pieces we've been playing for 2 weeks or a month, by which time, our pupils are moving far more forward on those pieces, and we can begin to look at the bigger picture, the whole piece maybe. But simultaneous learning is an approach that we do all the time, from beginning to the end of the lesson. It's not, I'm now going to do a bit of simultaneous learning.
Okay.
This is how we teach. I mean, so sometimes we will say to a pupil, and now you're ready to play me your piece all the way through, without any preliminary work, maybe. But because we built up to it in such a careful way, that pupil will be able to play that piece. And if things go wrong, our pupil will probably know they've gone wrong. And we together, we discuss that bar there, the rhythm wasn't quite accurate.
Okay.
Maybe a dotted rhythm, it wasn't quite accurate. So instead of saying at that point, we would do some more simultaneous learning. Let's take that rhythm out. Let's explore the rhythm, make some connections, do some improvising, and then we put the rhythm back. So at no point do we just say, you were wrong, this is how it goes, have another go. Teaching is more elaborate than that. It's richer, it's more imaginative, it's more interesting than just saying, that was wrong, I'll show you how it goes, now you do it again. Because that kind of teaching doesn't work for most people.
Yeah.
And if they do get it, they only approximately get it. They only get it on the surface. They don't get it deeper down. They don't understand it.
So I think I really appreciate your perspective about the way teacher, like look at the student mistake, and that is the teacher's fault, right?
Yes,
but how about the student is lack of practicing at home? And like, even though we teacher, we assign some extra work for them, but if they they don't practice enough at home, and when they come back, something is just like that. And so how we can think about that?
Okay, well now, this is very interesting you asked me that question, Nana, because the next book I'm going to be writing is called Teaching Unconditionally. Or I might call it Unconditional Teaching, either way. And what you've just raised there is a very interesting condition. The teacher is thinking, I will teach you on the condition that you practice. Okay, it's a condition. And many teachers might think, well, that's an entirely reasonable condition. I will teach you if you practiced. So now, what are the alternatives? If you haven't practiced, I won't teach you. So if someone comes to their lesson and they haven't practiced, do we send them away straight away? You can go away, I won't teach you today, and so you don't pay me any money, you just go away. That's one way we can do it. Do we get annoyed? If we get annoyed, it's not going to be a good lesson. So what's the third way? The third way is, okay, you haven't practiced. I'm thinking, I wonder why you haven't practiced. For in most children's cases, they don't practice for a reason. And often that reason is they simply don't understand what they're supposed to be doing, or they're not enjoying it sufficiently to want to practice. So it comes back to simultaneous learning again. If I teach my pupils in such a way that they're enjoying what they're doing, and they want to go home and practice, the chances are they will go home and practice. So that for me, that is not a condition. If my pupil doesn't practice, I'm thinking, well, maybe it's my fault for not making it clear enough or interesting enough for them to want to go home and do some practice. But if they do come to my lesson without practicing it, it's not a condition. And I will say, okay, you haven't practiced. It's not a condition. I don't mind. I'd prefer it if you did practice. Let's see whether we can have a lesson today where I can teach you in a particular kind of way that will make you go home and say, I want to do some practice today. You know, how might that be? And it starts to make the teacher think a bit more clearly about how they're teaching. Are they giving their pupils too much practice? And the pupil feels, this is too much. I don't even know where to start. Overwhelming them. You know, what is the reason why they're not practicing? So if they are not practicing, I'm not going to get annoyed or frustrated. I'm going to try to figure a way to help them practice. Some pupils don't practice. So what are we going to do? I'm not going to teach you. If it doesn't matter to our economy, you know, our income, then, you know, say, oh, you can go. I'm not going to teach you. You don't practice. That's fine. But I don't want to keep that pupil on if I'm going to be annoyed or frustrated. There's no point in that. So if a pupil doesn't practice, we have to search for the reasons why and try to teach them in such a way that they do practice. That's my thinking. That's my answer to that.
That is amazing. I mean, like when the teachers can think about, like, reflect themselves about how they taught the student and how they can inspire the student to practice more.
Yes.
Yeah, that is his. I think that's their job. That is the teacher's job.
Yeah, it is a teacher's job. Yes, and lots of teachers, Nana, don't think it's their job. The teacher thinks, I've told you to practice. That's all I have to do. But it's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like being a teacher is so challenging.
It is challenging. It is challenging, but it's very, very enjoyable challenge.
Yeah.
It's a great challenge, and if we are really wanting to think deeply about teaching and about what it is we're doing and how we can really help our pupils, it's a wonderful thing to be doing.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful job.
Yeah, because my student, I have about like 7 or 8, 10 students, and like I feel like each of them is special, is different.
Yes.
A personality. Yeah. And so when I approach them in the lesson, it's look like I have to think of some individual way for them to learn. And like for some teachers, they have a lot of students. I think that's quite a big challenge for.
Yes. Yeah. It is, but if we think about what it is we're doing, makes such a difference. I mean, if I might say, I have another book which is called The Virtuoso Teacher. That's another one of my books, and the Virtuoso Teacher, that talks about us, the teacher, how we are, what it is we do, and how we can be a great teacher, because I think we can all be great teachers if we want to be.
So that book is available on Amazon?
Yes, it is, yes.
And so Paul, like, so when I'm living in here in South Korea, you know, like in this situation, it's COVID-19, I have like, I start to teach online, like visual lessons, like more than before.
Yeah.
So do you think that the like simultaneous learning, we can adapt it for the online learning?
Yes, just the same. Just the same. As long as you have a copy of the music that your pupils have, you can teach just the same. You say to your pupil, now which is what I want you to do next. I want you to, I mean, in simultaneous learning, we give more instructions, I think. We set up more activities in a lesson than reactive teaching, where we say, you play, and then I will give you a list of all your mistakes. We are more active in a simultaneous learning approach to teaching, but it works online just as the same as what we might call reactive teaching works. It's the same. It's just that the way that we teach is a bit different. It doesn't matter whether it's online or in real life. It's the same.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I think maybe I will start to think about that when I have a next lesson. Yeah. So Paul, if you can wrap it up something about the, like how a teacher they can start to adopt the simultaneous learning in the teaching, like in the simple ways, like how they can do it.
Well, I think if you've been if you decide, oh yes, I think I'm a very reactive teacher, I think that's the way that I teach. I just tell my pupils to do something and then I react to their mistakes, because they will always make mistakes because we haven't really done any teaching. There's a very famous saying, telling is not teaching. And a lot of teachers think, I've told you that, so I've taught you, but it's not teaching. Telling is not teaching. So all the teacher has to do is to think, okay, so when we're doing this piece now, let's begin by exploring this ingredient. And maybe the teacher knows this piece has dotted rhythms in it, dotted crotchet quaver, dotted quarter note, eighth note. And I know that my pupil usually gets that wrong because they don't really understand it. Let's start off by doing some activities that are going to help you to really understand that rhythm. And maybe we do pulse activities and clapping, or maybe, you know, they clap the pulse with one hand and they clap the rhythm with the other hand. All sorts of activities. And then we say, we do a few activities. Do you understand it? And pupil says yes or no. And if they say yes, we say, now let's go back to the piece and try that passage again and see whether you really understand it now. That is simultaneous learning. And so you can straight away start to teach in this proactive way, straight away, without a problem. And as you start thinking about it, then you start realizing, I could have taught that better. I could have made that bit of the lesson more interesting. Because all I said was play it to me. And then I just gave my pupil a list of the mistakes. And the teacher suddenly begins to realize that wasn't so effective. I could have done that better. And I think it's just up to the teacher to, all I want to do is to say to the teacher, there is a different way of teaching. And I think it's better. I think the teacher will enjoy it more, and I think the pupil will enjoy it a lot more. And all I want to do is just to suggest that to the teacher and then let them go in the way they want to go. Simultaneous learning is not a very specific thing. It's not you have to do it like this. There's loads of different ways you can do it. It's just really flipping teaching the other way around, and the teacher takes more responsibility, which is much more fun as a teacher, because we are leading the lesson. We are not kind of following our pupils' mistakes. We are leading the lesson, and it's better. It's more fun.
Yeah. I thank you. Thanks so much for sharing this idea and about the simultaneous. I think we are over time. So I wish you all the best, Paul.
You too.
I hope I can hear more news from you about the coming book.
Yes.
Future.
Of course, yeah. And if you want to talk again, Nana, just let me know. We can always find some time.
Oh, I'm right say that. Thank you so much. Okay. Have a good morning. Have a good day, Paul.
You too. Very nice to see you, and thank you very much for the invitation.